can you use the activity chart to determine EMF 5? Well, the answer is yes, and in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to interpret the activity chart in Phasmophobia, because throughout the years, some things have changed. So you may be thinking, well, I did thought the activity chart was useless, or as when I first started, I was told the activity chart was useless, but only come to find out it's actually can be pretty useful if used in the proper way. So what is the proper way? Well, the activity chart is going to somewhat correspond with the EMF level, but maybe not exactly. The developers have said in the past that it's like a plus or minus 1 from what it is. So if you got an EMF 2 in the house, it could pop up as a 1 on the activity chart, or it could pop up as a 3, which we're really not worried about. Like this activity going on right here, it's a 3. Now, if you see a spike up to 5, just like you saw that one, and now another spike of 4 on there, we're not even in the house, we're not getting ghost evented. This is going to be an EMF 5. Because the only way that you can get to a 5 on the activity chart without a ghost event and without the ghost hunting and without the poltergeist using its ability, the only way for that to happen is for the ghost to be EMF 5. So whenever you see a spike of 5, you can assume EMF 5. You just want to double check and verify. If I see a spike of 4, I kind of think, you know, it could be along the lines of an EMF 5. I'm going to be leaning that way, but I want to see at least like a 5 spike or higher without a hunt and without a ghost event. So if I saw this, I would assume that the ghost is EMF 5. And really where this is going to come in handy is if you're having a stubborn ghost, and sometimes EMF 5 can be really stubborn to get. The ghost may not want to interact with anything, just not show you that EMF 5, especially for like a shade, which won't interact with things with you in the same room, or they're very shy in general. It can be a lot harder to get EMF 5. But out the house looking at the chart, if you're not sure, can also be helpful. And now that they've instituted the weekly challenges, this is super helpful on there, because if I'm not mistaken, every single weekly challenge, the activity chart has been visible. So even like the primitive challenge that happened in Ridgeview, we still had the activity chart here where we could try to determine if it was EMF 5 ghost. If the poltergeist uses its multi-throw ability, you're going to see a huge spike on the chart. It could go all the way up from a 0 to a 10, and it's not even hunting. If you're assuming it may be a poltergeist, just be careful if nobody could verify that, because you could get caught out with that, because it will shoot up to a 5 or higher, but poltergeists do not have EMF 5 as a piece of evidence. So if you are thinking poltergeist, just keep that in mind. If you're playing with other people and you see a spike on the chart, make sure you ask them if they just had a ghost event, right? And just like as we saw here right now, it went from 3 to an 8. That's EMF 5. I know this is EMF 5 because I also determined beforehand that it was EMF 5 ghost. So I at least look like I know somewhat what I'm talking about, right? So there's actually other little tricks you can do with the activity chart as well. You can actually identify the twins on the activity chart, and I'm going to show you here in this clip exactly what that looks like. So when looking at this graph on the right side, you'll see how it goes up and then takes a slight diagonal slant immediately, changing the angle of it without a straight line that's going to signal the twins. And then as it comes down, you get an extra angle there at the end. That's the twins. One thing you need to keep in mind, though, is that for those twin interactions, or that's what everybody calls it, is twin interaction. If you didn't know, where the twins will automatically interact with two things, one right after the other, like immediately. And that's sort of how you kind of get the idea if it's the twins or not. Like close a door and turn on a light switch, like somewhat at the same time. Ghosts coming out of a hunt can have the same little bend. So if it is hunting and comes out of a hunt and sees that, don't automatically assume twins. I made that mistake before in the past. I was like, oh, wait, that's the twins. Guessed it, it was wrong, and then I came to find out later that since it came out the hunt, it could be messed up. And then once again here, we saw it go from a 4 to a 9. We see that 5 spike. EMF 5 ghosts can do that. I still like to verify it on the EMF reader, but if it comes to a point where you're really stuck, can't get that EMF 5 reading, but you know that you see it on the chart like consistently, like at least double check that you get that consistent 5 bump, then you can go ahead and assume EMF 5. So it can definitely come in handy for that, and in the weekly challenges as well. It's helped me get a bunch of ghosts in the weekly challenge just from doing that. Now you do have to have evidence on for it to have EMF 5 on the activity chart. So if you are playing no evidence, you're not going to get an EMF 5 on the activity chart. Again, don't make the mistake of thinking because you see a super huge spike and the ghost did hunt, or you did just have a ghost event, make sure double check. You don't want to make that mistakes. There's also other mistakes that you do not want to make. Click or tap the screen right now to look at those mistakes to avoid. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you learned something new, and I will see you all in the next one. Happy hunting.